Over 25 years ago, we started here in Columbia the Parley Pratt Freedom Run to bring attention to that important freedom of religion. This year, we've expanded that to think about all First Amendment freedoms and for us to do something together as a community to remember these freedoms in a very active way. Parley Pratt was a leader of Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints here in Missouri in the 1830s. There was a lot of misunderstanding, miscommunication, and as a result, some tension that resulted in some pretty ugly things. He and other leaders were imprisoned. After about 8 months, he was moved here to Columbia, Missouri, and could not get a fair day in court. And on the 4th of July, 1839, he decided it was just time to exercise his religious freedom by freeing himself from the Boone County Jail, which is located about where the current Boone County Courthouse is. And so he and 2 others escaped the jail, and he ran for freedom. And so we use that story to bring attention to the freedom of religion, and now have expanded to let the event that bears his name, the Parley Pratt Freedom Run, to bring attention to all of the First Amendment freedoms.
We designed the 4-mile route such that it would be educational and also inspirational. So along this 4-mile course, there are a number of different symbols right in our community that represent each of the freedoms found in the First Amendment. We hope that it will bring to participants a remembrance of these basic freedoms that we enjoy.
The route of the race goes past many, many different houses of worship of all different faiths. And that to me is part of that look back, present, and future. And back in 1839, if you were a member of the LDS Church, well, you could be incarcerated for that. And so that wasn't something that you probably wouldn't find a house of worship for that group of people in downtown Columbia. And so when we look back and now look to the present and say, gosh, look at the multitude of houses of worship that are side by side and so close together in this community. And so we have those, and I think that's really exciting to say, if you go on this route, you'll walk or run past Hillel, you'll run past the mosque, you'll run past the Episcopal Church, you'll run past Second Baptist, and you'll run past so many different houses of worship that really showcase the diversity. And I hope not just diversity, but acceptance and inclusiveness of our community. And then on the route also, it goes past the places in which the press is vibrant in this community. When people come to Boone County, come to Columbia especially, a lot of people come because of the J School. Well, we have 2 newspapers in this town, 2 very active newspapers, the Missourian and the Tribune. And this route goes past those, and it goes past the Press Association, and it goes past the Speaker's Circle. So you can talk about freedom of speech, and you can think about that. If you're walking or running across this route, you can say, gosh, in this town, in this space, we celebrate all of these freedoms, and there's a particular place where we can go and think about those freedoms. And so I love this route because it incorporates all of those different freedoms and it makes them come alive.
The incredible vision of the Founding Fathers to lay out the First Amendment as part of the Bill of Rights has truly been transformational. The ability to be able to choose one's own religion, to worship in the way that they want, and to be able to speak freely without fear of retribution is what makes this country the greatest country in the world. And so freedom of expression, the First Amendment, are the defining qualities that mark democracy in America.
When I think about freedom, especially today, freedom of public assembly, the right to demonstrate, the right of free speech. If we look at what's happening in America today with the Black Lives Matter movement, it's important that we honor and respect that constitutional right to assemble, to have your voice heard, to share and to fight for freedom, to teach your children, to teach our children that freedom must be fought for. Freedom must be earned, and freedom must be wrestled every day to be fully enjoyed.
First Amendment freedoms are foundational for our society because they reflect the importance of individual autonomy. They reflect the importance of democratic self-governance, that people need to be informed about their government and communicate with their government in order to have a truly functioning democracy. And they also enshrine a right of toleration of the freedoms of others that help us thrive in a pluralistic society.
So religious freedom is very, very important for everybody, every individual to practice their religion in their own way, in the way their religion dictates and educates.
It is extremely important on so many levels. If you just think about the way that our country was founded and the religious persecution that everyone faced worldwide, and then they came to America where we had the First Amendment and the ability to assemble, the ability to come together, and the ability to have our own faith.
I can't imagine a life where you don't have that. I think that we do kind of take it for granted, this freedom of speech. If we lived in a country where if you spoke the truth and could end up in jail or worse, and there are plenty of countries that are dictatorships that might forbid free speech, whether officially or unofficially. We don't have that. We have something special with our ability to speak freely. So just as a citizen, I am devoted to that idea.
I can't imagine life in America without having that freedom, and so we would be just another, we would not be a democracy if we were not able to speak as we need to speak.
Freedom of speech and our First Amendment in general is critical to filmmaking and to all media. Filmmakers need the freedom to explore stories on the nonfiction side, to tell news stories on the fiction side, to present their visions to the world in as unfettered a way as possible.
With our unique situation and having the chance to adopt this beautiful little girl, it wouldn't have been possible without the freedom that we have.
My experience with religious freedom, I have lived it for 96 years plus 9 months.
It includes speech, it includes press, but it also includes assembly peacefully. It does say in the First Amendment, peaceful assembly, and it entails petitioning for redress.
And magazines and books, I think it just gets it impacts their lives, because once you read that, that's more knowledge you're getting and stuff. So I think it just gives them a chance to learn more.
I think we would be a less vibrant community. I think we would be a community that didn't have a certain liveliness to it if there was not a freedom of speech.
Being able to understand different people rather than just staying in our own religion and strictly just narrowing our vision to what we understand, because that will help us be able to not only comprehend why people do the things they do, but also gain a better appreciation for our religious freedom, and also be able to love one another more freely.
I keep my Constitution on my desk at all times because I refer to it daily. And I want to make sure that I am versed on those things that I hear nationally, etc. I want to make sure that that is constitutional.
The Independence Day, 4th of July, is of course a time for ice cream, balloons, lots of fun. But underlying that is what we should remember: the sacrifices, the wisdom, the work that went in to crafting this document, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. It was unique in the annals of history. So many countries have tried to emulate us, and Some have done a fairly good job, but there's nothing like our Constitution, our Bill of Rights.
We must have the right to petition government. We must have the right for government to listen to our problems. And if government doesn't listen to our problems, then that's no longer a democracy.
Somebody can spend 10 years of their life in prison, somebody like me who's made terrible, terrible choices, and they're released and they still have a voice that can be heard.
I think of all the women trailblazers who have paved the path before us today. I appreciate everything that they've done to open these doors for all these young women. That's what I think Independence Day is.
You really have to utilize all of them for us to have a free democracy.
For me, freedom is represented by the ideals of having our children grow up in a world without boundaries, where their aspirations, their hard work, and their diligence will be able to create opportunities for themselves to reach the highest potential that they can in their chosen field. And that is a dream that can be realized right here in America. And I've been the beneficiary of that dream. So that's what freedom represents.
It's not so much about a run, it's about coming together as a community and remembering these freedoms and seeing the symbols of these freedoms through the structures and the houses of faith and through the things that we see here in our community, that we don't connect to those freedoms. And so when we draw attention to them through this run, it hopefully will bring people to a greater awareness of how important they are to us.